How do I, 29F, navigate a conversation in which I tell one of my male best friends, 31M, that I do not feel comfortable around his girlfriend, 35F? I have been best friends with T, 31M, for about 3 years IRL and 5 online. 1 year into our IRL friendship, I had a relationship with B, 27M. B and I often hung out with T at a house where he lived with 3 other roommates. Times when B and I would spend weekends there to hang out, I'd cook dinner, etc. Fast forward to 9 months ago, T got into a relationship. We will call her G, 35F. In the beginning, G and I would drink wine together and sing karaoke on the TV in the living room of V and his roommate's home. I went out to grab sushi. I would not say we were best friends, G and I, but we were very friendly acquaintances. This relationship had been fresh, and she made statements in the beginning that had me side-eyeing slightly because she said she did not want to be a 40-year-old bride. Back in May, when we were all hanging out, we were discussing the movement of a relationship with another friend. And there was a statement made by T that he would want to know from his friends if he thought he was moving too fast with someone. So I was like, if that is something you want, I will just say that I feel you and G are moving things reasonably quickly as the relationship is still only a couple of months in, 6 months. You are already planning for a wedding, looking at venues, and have not even lived together or proposed. There is so much that goes into being married, it should be taken seriously. For me, and how I was raised, marriage and having children are very serious commitments that should never be taken lightly. From there, I think, things started to fizzle out. Like I said, B and I would spend weekends at the house before T and G's relationship began. But it eventually just started to be when he and I would spend the weekends there, having events for our friend group, birthday parties at the house, etc. Because our friend group has a home, it worked out to have parties there. May and June had been jam-packed with birthday parties and celebrations, so we stayed over for the weekend often because I took the lead in decorating and preparing meals for our parties. The 4th of July weekend had occurred, and we had stayed the weekend but went over to G's house for the celebration because it was being held at her home. But after that weekend, the next time we returned to the house to stay over was the first weekend of August to celebrate my birthday, which was a complete month later. On the day of my birthday party, my best friend from college surprised me with a surprise visit to our state because she lives across the country. So, after I was done getting ready, I walked out of the bathroom with my birthday outfit on and my makeup done. My best friend he said, "Wow, you look pretty today." His girlfriend had her back to me, flinched slightly, and then turned around to look at me, and with this non-enthusiastic tone said, "Oh, you do look pretty." Now, just to reiterate, I am autistic, so there are moments when I do not thoroughly pick up on social cues, but I can also feel and assess when someone may not be my biggest fan. So I didn't pay that any mind and left with my best friend to grab a birthday lunch, which I did not know was a way to get me out of the house for a surprise birthday party that my college best friends, T and B, had all got together to plan for me. When my best friend and I returned to the house after she kept me away for a setup, I noticed that G was not there. When I asked where she was, T told me she was not feeling well when it got closer to the party time, so she headed out. I told T to say to her I hoped she felt better and would be missed. As the party progresses, she calls T's phone, saying she doesn't feel well, which he said he knows, and due to the medication she is on, the side effects are normal if you are making the changes needed to manage the symptoms. She called again and stated she wasn't feeling well. He said that when most of the party guests leave, he will head over to her, and that he didn't want to dip out on my birthday like that, because he was the one homeowner that was at the party, and he did not want to leave just in case something were to happen, not that he didn't trust us. That call ends, and he gets another 20 minutes later, and G has called again stating that she feels like she wants to drive herself off of the central bridge that is near her house. He says he will leave the party immediately to go to her while explaining his need to leave. I told him he could have left a while ago because the girlfriend holds precedence over me, and there will be other celebrations. G's mom calls him. She asks why he hasn't made it over to G's yet, to which he says he is on his way and rushes out. Fast forward to the day after the party, T says to me, "Hey, just want to let you know that things are going to be changing around here as I'm trying to establish a future with G, so we can't have a gazillion people over here every weekend, which is not the first time he has said this, even though all the parties we have had with a gazillion people have been done at his request, and him asking me to get everything together for it. Fast forward through the week, and he has mentioned another 4 to 5 times that there can't be a gazillion people coming over every weekend because things for the future between him and G are happening. There comes a time when you can only say something so many times before you catch a hint. Although we had not been over for a weekend stay in a month, I told B that due to how many times it has been mentioned to me by T about not having a gazillion people over on the weekends, you and I would not be going over for a weekend stay anymore. When there are parties, we will show up the day off and then leave after if able. So, for a little over a month, we did not go over to the house until we celebrated another birthday with one of the roommates, who rents birthday. On the party day, I went over early with B to prepare food and set up decorations. G was over because she had been living there since the last time that B and I were over. She came down from upstairs and into the kitchen with an attitude that made me think maybe she had argued with T before we arrived. Still, I said, "Hey girl," and continued to prepare the meal, but I felt awkward the entire time because of her attitude. B did not even say hello to her because he thought she was too hostile when coming in for my liking, so I did not want to speak. She then grabbed her keys and asked if anyone wanted anything from the store, and we, B, myself, and the friend/roommate whose birthday it was, all replied no and that we were okay. After she walked out of the house, G proceeded to text T and tell him that I was being hostile and made the space uncomfortable for her, and she didn't know if we had a problem. Meanwhile, when she walked in, I was deconstructing a rotisserie chicken for the meal I was preparing for the party. So I don't know how chipper I should have responded, but maybe I could have said "hey girl" to her in a happier tone. So when T arrives home from work, I am still preparing a meal for the party. He says, "Can I talk to you in the garage?" Proceeding to ask if everything between us is fine, which I said it was just that when someone says we can't have a gazillion people over all the time, and the last set of people that was over was mainly me, I know what is implied and how to take a hint. I also explained that there had been a month between the time that I had spent a weekend there, so it was odd to me that after my birthday, that was the time you wanted to keep drilling into me how things are changing in your relationship. You cannot have a gazillion people over the house all the time. As if I have not been in a 2-year relationship and understand the choices made in relationships regarding priorities. Fast forward to last weekend. We attended a Halloween party that our one friend was hosting, and T pulled my boyfriend B to the side and had a long conversation about how G and I feel threatened by each other, and there have been causes of the problematic dynamic. Now, I hate to shame anyone, but there is no way on God's given earth that I would feel threatened by G. Then there was a mention of potential jealousy, and Lord again if that could not be further from the truth, because that would imply that I am attracted romantically and sexually to T, and no offense to him, but never in my life have I ever felt that kind of feelings towards him. I have a type, but he is not that. I view T the same way I view my siblings. So, the thought of that is honestly repulsive. We tried explaining to him that I have been very cordial on my end, even with the weird vibes that he picked up on that I made no mention of, and whatever the issue is, it is not something I need to work on. But I made it seem like I was the issue and called intimidating to talk to, and that's why things have gone on like this for so long.